To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is invocation by Harvest Community Church. All right. We'll start with a roll call.
Sabers.
Here.
Goldammer.
Here.
Dosher. McCardle.
Here.
Barrington. Bathke.
Here.
Charks. Here. Smith.
Here.
We have a quorum. We're going to start with a recommendation to City Council by Mayor Hansen, which is me, to appoint Dean Knipling to the position of Police Chief.
Move to appoint.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right. Motion passes. Dean, come up here.
Even dressed up for the occasion.
This is our first time doing this. Do you want this?
You-
Okay, I'll give you a copy. All right. Put your hand up. Repeat after me. I, Dean Knipling,
I, Dean Knipling,
having been appointed to the office of Chief of Police
having been appointed to the office of Chief of Police
within and for the City of Mitchell,
within and for the City of Mitchell,
Davison County, South Dakota,
Davison County, South Dakota,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and the ordinance of said City of Mitchell,
and the ordinances of said City of Mitchell,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
perform all duties of the oath of the office of Chief of Police.
perform all the duties of the office of Chief of Police.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You want to say something? So you understand that? That was a fun start.
All right, next. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
What? We'll let all these guys clear out real quick. All right, we're going to start with the approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Does anyone wish to remove anything?
Move to approve.
We got a motion by Mr. McCardle,
Second.
second by Mr. Goldhammer. Any further discussion? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on anything on the consent agenda? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Roll call.
Oh, yeah, roll call, sorry. I even circled it, so I didn't screw that up. Okay, roll call.
Dosher. McCardle. Bathke.
Aye.
Charks. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Goldammer.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor and members of city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium and state your name and concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken.
I have a feeling 3 minutes is going to go by pretty fast. My name's Ron Freeman, and my wife and I reside at 1420 Pebble Beach Road. And I just wanted to bring to the
Keep going.
Well, I'll just keep going from where I was. I wanted to bring to the council's attention an issue that's concerning myself, my wife, and the neighbors that I've spoken to along Pebble Beach Road and Thunderbird Drive. I just learned last week that the Golf and Parks Department intends to move the bike path, which is located west of the cemetery and south of the golf course, directly behind our homes along Pebble Beach and behind Thunderbird Drive. And the few neighbors I've spoken to so far, everybody's opposed to it, and we all feel like there was no public input taken when this decision was made. And we are not opposed to the bike path. We all use it ourselves, but nobody wants this right behind our house. And besides that, the path ends on 23rd up at the beginning of Pebble Beach Road. And when individuals come down Pebble Beach, if that path is directly located behind my house is right on the north side of the curve, they're going to see that bike path with no other signage, and I don't want a sign in my front yard. They're going to see that bike path, and where do you suppose that they're going to go? They're going to take the path of least resistance, and a majority of them, I think, are going to go right through our yard and right out to the bike path. I spoke with Mrs. Charks and Mr. Smith today, and they both visited with me about it and seemed surprised at this move and this change. So I don't know, I've never been here for this before. I don't know if anybody has any questions or what's allowed here, but I would just ask that the city revisit this. I'm going to personally visit with each one of my neighbors on Pebble Beach and Thunderbird Drive tonight and visit with them. And I would, based on the 4 individuals I've spoke with so far, I would bet you 75% of the residents along those affected homes will oppose this move. And we just don't feel like we've been afforded any public input whatsoever with this decision that was made. So I guess my only other question is I understand that this was budgeted because I did speak with Mrs. Elwine today, but this just feels like this decision was something that was buried maybe within the decision to budget for this. And I would ask the city to reconsider. I walked over this afternoon, and I've used the bike path many times. I walked over. It's directly west of the city gardens and south where it goes through the trees there. It's a really nice bike path, and the majority of it is unaffected by the changes they made at the golf course with the 2 tee boxes. They've already got a temporary path, and all they'd have to do is just make some minor modifications to that temporary path, and there's your solution, rather than repaving a whole new bike path and disrupting the privacy of our residents along Pebble Beach and Thunderbird Drive. And with that, I think my time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to address the council?
Yeah, I spoke to city council here on.
Can you just state your name so everyone at home can hear you?
Tom Fergan.
Thank you.
All right. I spoke to city council on August 5th here 2 weeks ago. I conveyed my message against draining the lake out of Lake Mitchell for dry land dredging. Julie Manis also spoke against the proposal of not draining the lake. Neil Reeve, a retired soil conservation employee, spoke how the people of Grow Lake drained their lake. They waited some time to get equipment into the lake. The silt and sediment would not dry up, so they abandoned the project. Fish were lost. The frost line stops at 42 inches. What if the silt is 48 inches? What about excess snow or rain, or lack of rain and filling the Lake Mitchell back up again? You know, my question is, are you beholden to engineers or citizens of Mitchell? If the vote were held today, this would not pass. Now, I know it's not the practice of addressing these issues, but maybe I can give you a copy of this, and you can address them amongst yourselves. Here are the issues I wanted to address. Are you 100% sure this project will succeed? How long would it take to make this project complete? Why should we not concerned about Neil Reeves, what he said about the project, like one of you are planning right now? Did not succeed in Crow Lake. Are you concerned about the price tag of this project when there are other options less costly? I know the wheels are already in motion, but you're the ones that can put the brakes on this. Can you see things truly as they are? Can you? Maybe it's a practice not to answer citizen concerns, but I'm asking why not? Why is that rule put in this play? You're not going to answer, but I'd like to take a look at this and then think about it on your own. So I'm passing these around. Pass these. There's enough there, what I just said, and then respectfully submitted, Tom Fergan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any comments? Can't do that, can you?
Correct.
What a deal.
Does anyone else wish to address the council?
Mayor Hanson, Council, Doug Greenway, Corn Palace Director. It's the best time of the year in Mitchell. It's the annual Corn Palace Festival that starts on Wednesday the 21st. So I want to take this opportunity to invite you, the community, to come down and visit our festival. It is one of the oldest festivals in South Dakota history. They've been celebrating agriculture at the Corn Palace since 1892. So we've got a full schedule. I gave one to you. Those of you in the audience, there's some in the back of the room. There is free entertainment every night that you can come down, service the food trucks because those vendors keep coming back because the festival is good to them. So come down, have a fun festival meal, some free entertainment, maybe take in one of our ticketed shows, which are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And of course, something new this year is we have a community church service at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning out in the plaza. So Life Church here in Mitchell and Reverend Bill Parks will be running that. We invite you down. And then Saturday, I should mention, we are recognizing one of our famous South Dakotans. So as you know, our Corn Palace theme is famous South Dakotans. Charles Gamar is three shuttle missions to outer space. Scotland, South Dakota. He is going to be here to be recognized as one of our famous South Dakotans. He's going to give us a short program at 4 o'clock on Saturday, and you have a chance to meet an astronaut. So come down and celebrate one of our famous South Dakotans too. So lots of great things happening in Corn Palace Festival this week. Weather looks great, so please come down and support the festival. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council?
Good evening. My name is Robert Hoffman. I live at 501 East 5th Avenue with my wife, Carrie. All of you know who I am. I'm just here to say that the Mitchell City Ordinance for vicious animals is illegal and unconstitutional, inhumane, and needs to be repealed and done correctly. The 14th Amendment of the United States guarantees us that no one can take our property without due process. Well, right now it's set up that the chief of police is the judge, jury, appeal authority, and executioner to decide if someone's dog needs to be euthanized. And I don't like that word, it's something else. That is not due process at all. It's not even close. If you don't know what due process is, look it up. The city of Mitchell's been doing this for many, many, many years, and it needs to stop. Let's do it right. Let's do it fairly. So no more dogs have to be harmed unnecessarily or families, because that's what happened here. Second part I'd like to say about this, when you redid the vicious dog ordinance in 23, it was pretty much the same thing as you had before, except you added Dr. Dunbar's vicious bite scale. Well, I contacted the Dunbar Academy in Berkeley. Dr. Dunbar is very elderly. He turned his practice over to his daughter, Jamie, and his son, Kelly. They're both veterinarians. I emailed them and I asked them a question, simple question. I said, does the Dunbar bite scale apply to domestic animals? And they said, no, only to humans. Well, that was shortly followed up by a phone call between me and Jamie Dunbar. Here's why it doesn't even apply, even with this junk science. If you think that a 150-pound man and a 6-pound Dachshund had the same physiology, skin structure, muscle tone, muscle structure, you're wrong. They don't. They're completely different. So what happened, you took what sounded like a good idea, let's just apply it, if it's good enough for humans, let's apply it to domestic animals. All right? You can't do that. All right? Because they're totally different things. If a Chihuahua bit somebody, would we execute him because of the length of their 1/8 inch fang? I don't think so. I would hope not. I don't know. So, you know, this has gone on as far as I can take it. The mayor already knows I'm not going to sue anybody. That wouldn't solve anything. It's not your money anyway. If I can get one thing done for the death of my dog and what my wife has been through, it would be to get this repealed and overturned, and let's do it right. Do the research, vet it, make sure it's legal, make sure it's constitutional, and make sure, let's do the right thing, because it's the right thing to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm Stuart Hansen, and I just have a couple things I want to say tonight. At the August 5th council meeting, Mark Pitts from the Friends of Firesteel came up here to update the council on their fundraising, how their fundraising was going. He said there were just under $1.1 million of commitments to date. Then he said, "We've set it so that no funds would be due until the year the bids are approved, basically by the end of that year, December 31st. But that's not what their Facebook page said. They said Mitchell residents have pledged nearly $1 million towards the dredge project if the vote for the loan passed on June 4th. Nothing was said about when the bids are approved and not due until the 31st of December, the year the bids are approved. Kind of a bait and switch, wouldn't you say? Especially since a lot of people voted yes because they thought the Friends of Firesteel would be writing the city a check. If you ask me, I think the bid letting should be delayed until the city receives a check from the Friends of Firesteel. I think that's fair. Next, since we haven't heard anything about the Arts in the Park held July 26th through the 28th, I'd like to take this time to thank Tim Goldhammer and all the volunteers who helped make this event a huge success. Also, my hat's off to the volunteers that Nancy and Jordan lined up to drive around in golf carts that Iverson Auto loaned out to make sure everything went smoothly. If people needed rides to or from the park, they got them. Or when the wind blew over a vendor's display table sending everything flying, a call went over the walkie-talkies, which all the golf cart drivers had, and the volunteers were there in seconds to help. Very impressive. So many people said that this was just what Mitchell needed. The vendors I spoke with were very happy with the turnout. So much so that on the last day, after it was announced that the fee for a booth next year would double from $20 to $40, over 100 vendors signed up and paid early for a spot. And many of those vendors that signed up weren't vendors this year. They're just doing a little shopping and saw how well it was organized. In fact, on Saturday, there was hardly any room to walk on the pavement between the vendors' booth. It was packed. Just think, if it were anyone else but Nancy and Jordan that organized this event, some of you would have been flapping your gums saying how much you appreciated reviving Arts in the Park and bringing all these people to town. I'm sure it was a boost to our local economy. And finally, shame on the editor of our local newspaper for not having more coverage and photos of the event, especially since it was 17 years ago when we had the last Arts in the Park. I'm sure it would have been great advertising for the vendors for next year and great advertising for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council?
My name's Aaron Cooper. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Bradley Cooper. I'm the CEO and founder of Bennett Productions. I stand here tonight before you fully aware of the expectations of many of you in this room. Many of you think I'm here to unleash a storm, to tear into old wounds, to air the injustices that are buried deep in this city's fabric. And why wouldn't you? We have a history, don't we? But tonight I'm not here to do what you expect. I'm here to do something that will be remembered, something that will echo not just these chambers, but the city and beyond. I'm not here to steal anyone's light. I'm here to shine a new one. Yes, we have a complicated past, and yes, I've carried the weight of convictions that many of you in this room were eager to see break me. But here I am tonight, and the truth is, they didn't break me. They forged me into the man you see standing before you tonight. I'm not here to settle scores. I'm here to offer something that no one saw coming. Congratulations, Chief, on your new promotion. It's no small feat to rise where you are. I acknowledge the significance of your position, but with that promotion comes a choice, one that will define both of our futures in this city. You see, I am not the man you think that I am. I wasn't then, and I certainly am not now. But what matters tonight isn't who we were, it's who we choose to be from this moment forward. So here is an olive branch, a peace offering, a chance to leave the past where it belongs in the shadows. Tonight I am extending my hand, not in defiance, but in the spirit of collaboration. We can fight as we have before, or we can do something truly revolutionary, and we can work together. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about making nice. This isn't about making history. It's about setting a new precedent in the city, a precedent that says we are no longer defined by our past conflicts, but by the future that we are willing to build together. And hey, if you want to get better at keeping tabs on me, I could give you some pointers. I mean, I just think of all the times you missed me, chuckles, haha. But in all seriousness, the choice is yours, Chief. We can shine together or we can continue to cast shadows. But know this, I'm prepared for either path. And if we end up on opposite sides, I will fight with the same relentless determination that brought me here today. But imagine what we could do if we chose the light. This isn't a speech, this is a turning point. It's a moment that people will talk about for years to come. This isn't about tonight, this is about our legacy. So the choice is yours now, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council? Alrighty, we're going to move on to city council and mayor comments. So we added this just so we can discuss stuff amongst each other. So we don't have to go into executive session or lots of emails. I like to talk in person and make sure we don't break any rules. So if you guys have anything, I got a couple of things. If we want to chat about anything, this is the time where we can just discuss stuff free and openly. Does that sound right, Justin? Just make sure I'm not breaking any laws. We got a new chief of police here, and
Yeah, just to clarify, it'd just be discussion, no actions would be taken on anything that gets brought up during this section.
yeah, okay, perfect.
I just want to say one thing, and Doug, you tell me if I'm wrong, is the kids are doing like Arts in the Park or something too? Did you forget to say that? Did I not hear it? On Wednesday?
Well, that's actually not part of the festival. We
Okay.
do have our farmer's market on Wednesday. We've had that all summer. Actually, it'll be our last one. As you know, we're in Hitchcock Park. It's coming to the plaza area on Wednesday. As part of that, we had a group contact us, and they're going to display. I honestly can't do justice. It's kind of kids' arts in the park. They've been building some or making some craft items this summer. And there's a person that's organized them, and they're going to set up their little table and be available for purchase of the things they've made. But I honestly can't tell you what they are all made. But I know there's like 40 of them, so I'm really not sure where they're all going to go.
Right. I know there's about
But you
40
help
of them.
yourself.
And I know one young man that's pretty excited about it. He's going to be there with a booth. And on that note, I want to just say, keep in mind school's starting. Watch for the little ones.
I'm really glad you brought that up. My grandson has participated in the Sioux Falls Kids Arts in the Park. They have where the kids set up their own little booths, and then they have like the plays that the summer theater group has put together, and they have music groups playing and bounce houses and food trucks, and it's a big deal at McKinnon Park, and I've gone for the last several years to support a certain little Michael Charks, who's extraordinary. Anyway, I have said every year, we have got to get something like this in Mitchell. So I'm thrilled to hear that someone is taking the lead on that, and maybe it will continue to grow and become something like they've got over there.
Yeah, I think it's just young kids that are all the vendors. I'm not part of that either. They just wanted to know if we could use the name, and we said, yeah, go for it and do it. So yeah, I think there's 40 vendors, all kids, little bird houses and little kid crafts. So it's kind of cool. It's like their little entrepreneur startup thing. So it should be a fun event. I'm looking forward to going there. Anybody else have anything they want to chit chat about? So I'll go then. So I have a couple things I wanted to talk about. So one thing I think we should all think about is our goals. I was talking during a department head meeting about what we should think about for like the next 10 years. And now that I don't have to read lake studies anymore, I can read other studies. So I've read a lot of studies of like the Buxton study and all like the Vision 2020, 2040, all that stuff. And it really got me turning like, what is our goal? You come here every day, and I guess I'm at city council or hall every day, and what are we looking for? So one goal, and maybe this is super lofty and crazy, but I think 20,000 people in Mitchell is probably the goal that I would say is most important, because a lot of businesses won't come to town unless we are over 20,000. A lot of the big ones that people want, that we don't currently serve those needs. So not to compete with small businesses or anything. So that really puts things into perspective. So if you guys are just sitting around thinking about what your next 10 years goals are. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And then the most important thing I think tonight is I've been working with Justin on hopefully implementing some term limits for city council and the mayor. And we've been working on that a little bit. It's all up to you guys if you want to decide it or not. I think one of the most noble things you can do is take power away from yourself and let let new people in here. So I was proposing 3 terms max. And actually, the other thing Jeff Smith, I think, brought up is doing a rotation of mayor on the 3rd. So half city council 1 year, half city council the next year, and then mayor on the 3rd year. So you have an election every year. And that would mean the next mayor thing is a 1-year term, which I'm in favor of, just to get us on a regular cycle. And he's kind of looking into that, and we're looking into that too. The reason I brought this up is, well, first of all, 80% of the people in the United States want term limits. So I think that's important. And then I was talking to someone, and they said, if you get this done, you could probably be mayor forever. And that kind of scared me, because I was like, I do not want that ever. Because that's just, that amount of power for someone is too much. So that's what kind of put that in my head. So it's up to you guys. You can term me out at 1 if you want. I am willing to do another 1-year term after this, just to get us back on a regular cycle. But, even during the coin flip, we talked about how we want some new change in here. And the coin decided differently. But I think it's something we should just think about. We don't have to do it, but just think about it.
I would maybe add to that I think it would be good. I think that most municipalities have that mayor, maybe all, need to have a simple majority of the votes. So maybe we would include that if we were to make some changes, that regardless of how many people are running, the winner of any election would need to have 51% of the votes. And so if you had 30, 30, 30, or whatever it was, then you would have a runoff between, I guess that wouldn't work. But, if you had 3 people running, then the top 2 would have a runoff. Kind of. So that might
I
be
have never
something
thought
that
about
we
that.
would consider as well. I think I've heard a lot of people that would be interested in having that, and I think it would apply to all of us. It would apply to all locally elected individuals.
Just something to give everyone a thought about. All right, anything else? Anyone else want to talk about before?
But maybe I'll just chime in here a little bit on that. One, on the term limits, obviously it'd be a little hypocritical if I voted for it, but but in reality, more importantly, is I'm in 7 terms, and I had 2 campaigns, the first one and this last one. And I know Jerry's out here, and they've got a very active committee over with the governmental affairs committee over at the chamber. I think it's, regardless if we move forward or not on the term limits, I think there needs to be an opponent. And if either, I don't know where that would fall, but I would think maybe in that committee could make for sure that there are races. And so that, I've thought about this obviously a lot, and I thought maybe my opponent would bring it up a little bit more during my campaign and election, but it didn't quite come up where I could respond. But honestly, it was very good for me to get out and walk my ward, meet people, talk to them, where before I didn't have anybody run against me. So that's just me personally. I really would like to see races. And, Marty isn't here tonight, but we did have a short conversation about this at one point, and, he was at it for 6 terms and nobody ran. And in all reality, I think that probably, but we've even had mayors that have run up unopposed over the years. I think Lou's 2nd term was unopposed, if I remember right. But anyway, that's just another thing to throw into the mix.
Yeah, and to touch on that, because one thing we talked about is, what if there is nobody running on the 4th term? Let's say it was 3 years on the 4th term, then they would be allowed to run for a 4th one if there was no opponent. But of course, that would all have to be hammered out, just so the seat's never empty. So you could basically run forever if you never had an opponent. But if you got an opponent, then things would be different. But
I'd be a little concerned with the chamber finding a candidate to run against me or you or any of us. It's all of a sudden they're supporting this candidate. They encouraged him to run, and I don't know that is quite right.
I would agree with that.
Secondly, is this something that council can make the decision, or does it have to be voted on by the people?
No, I feel like my microphone's not working tonight, but yeah, this would be something that the council would vote on. It would not be something that would go to an election of the people.
The one other concern I have is that if we had the top two and we have to have another election to decide that, we've heard of what it costs to put on an election, and I think it's nearing 10 grand, to narrow it down from 3 to 2, and now we have to have another election. I just don't know if that's money well spent.
I would agree with that too. So it's just discussion. Just think about it, what you guys think, and maybe going forward, we'll figure out something. Maybe we'll do nothing.
I do, Jordan.
I don't know if you're allowed to talk at this. I'm not sure what the
I
rules
do
are.
like the fact of, literally, this year could have been 4 new council members and a new mayor. And that's, to me, is just too much change. So, and I wasn't thinking of a 1 year. This is my thought, was keep the mayor continually on the 3 year. And so not with the 1, like you said. And I understand what you're saying.
It would be 1 year just once. And then
No,
it would
I know.
and then it'd
Yeah.
be 3 years every year after.
So, yeah, and again, this is just for discussion. My thought was when Susan's chair is up, that seat is 2 years. When my seat is up, it's 2 years. And then the mayor would continue on the 3-year term, and you would be in the same cycle at that point. So there's different ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
And, running for 1 year, I think could be, and that's just me. That's just me personally. But I do like the fact of getting on a rotation of just saying that.
Yeah, so no one forgets about 1 year.
Council, mayor. So
Yep.
however we do that, I'm going to be in favor of that one because it just makes some sense. And, I'm not opposed to the 1 year, but I think if somebody runs, it should be a multi-year. I think you got in on the very first, ran for 1 year. 1 year, yeah. Well, and that's just the
Now
way
he's
that
president.
it
Look at
fell. But anyway, I think there's different ways of maybe accomplishing the same goal, so we can just think about that too.
Yeah, just for discussion, so we can all think about it, and then in a couple weeks or months or years or whatever it comes down to. we
Yeah,
just-
my original term was 1.5 years because I filled a vacated seat.
And I'll add, Jeff, that I did talk to Mayor Hansen about a couple of those different alternatives. It's just a matter of how you want to look at it on, do you want to minimize the number of elections that are going to be on an odd term? Or do you want to, there's just different ways that you can look at establishing that stagger.
I think that, for me personally, one of the frustrating things about doing it in this capacity is that without specific language to look at, it's really hard to offer an opinion on what my position on a policy would be, because there are some expectations that I would have that in some capacity I'd be okay with term limits, but a very large part of my brain right now is saying, by creating term limits, you're preventing someone from running and thus hindering democracy and allowing the people's voice to be heard. And that fundamentally, allowing anyone to run allows for the freest democracy and thus allowing the most applicable candidate or able-bodied candidate to win through the voice of the people. And for me, as like a core tenet of believing in the Constitution and democracy as a whole, I think that probably would be the loudest voice that I would say, is that anytime you limit a candidate and the qualifications for that candidacy, you're limiting a person's ability to vote in any capacity. I don't think that's okay.
I don't know if you're allowed to talk at this.
I was just going to respond to,
Is she allowed to talk at, is this just only discussion? I'm not sure what the rules are. This is new, first timers.
This is up to you and the council, however you want to handle it.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Jerry Beck, I just want to say thanks for the compliment for the governor or governmental committee. We could easily have a candidate school. We've talked about that before. And at least it'd be free. It'd invite anybody to come in, learn more about being city council, mayor, county commission, that kind of thing. We've talked about that. We just didn't feel like there would be much interest. We can always try.
And safe to say you would not support
Of course not.
one candidate or
No.
another.
We get behind issues that we feel are going to help the community. We don't get behind candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. This is one interesting one. Anyone else want to speak before we move on? All right, Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for the city council to recess and sit as the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Goldhammer. Second by Mr. Rabatsky. Further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, hearing in action for the application of 1L Gibson conditional use permit. 1L Gibson has applied for a conditional use permit to operate a family residential daycare located at 505 South Davison Street, legally described as shown on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 7-0 with the 3 standard conditions, license non-transferable. If business has ceased to operate for 6 months, new application would be required and pass the fire inspection. She has passed the fire inspection already. There were 2 letters that were returned in favor. One didn't make your packet. I got it today, but it was just in favor, no comments with it at all, so I didn't bring that. She has previously had a daycare about a year or so. They're moved to a different location is the only reason for this application. I can answer any questions that you have for me on this.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this? With contingencies.
What? Yes, with the contingencies, sorry.
We have a motion to approve with the contingencies in a second. Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing an action of application for Schmitz Construction variance permit. Schmitz Construction has applied for a variance permit for the minimum lot width of 66 versus 100 and a minimum lot area of 10,890 square feet versus 14,000 square feet located at 821 North Menser, legally described as shown on the agenda.
Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 5-0 with 2 abstentions. Published in the paper, neighbors were notified, signs posted. There was 1 letter returned in favor. The applicant would like to tear down the existing dwelling unit on the premises and build a 4-plex for it. The front of it would actually still be the east side, but the south would be where the front of the house would be at. So with it being a 4-plex, that's where the size for lot size and lot width is supposed to grow a little bit. I can answer any questions that you have for me on this.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Sabers. Any further discussion? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing an action on application of Curtis and Son of Betts variance permit. Curtis and Son of Betts have applied for a variance permit for a combination of attached and detached accessory building of 3,076 square feet versus 2,000 square feet on to build a new attached accessory building of 1,476 square feet located at 204 North Harmon, legally described as shown on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 7-0. It was published in the paper, neighbors were notified, signs posted. There were 2 letters returned in favor of this. The applicant would like to take their existing attached garage and turn it into a dwelling area. So then that would come off of the 2,000 total, but they have a 40 by 40 shed there already. So they'd like to build another garage that can fit their camper. So a little bit bigger for the new garage. It's about a net gain of about 600 square feet from what they previously had. There probably should have been a variance prior to this because it's over the 2,000 from before, but that's not this applicant. It was done prior to when they purchased this house. Applicants are here, I believe. I can answer any questions that you have.
Motion approved. We got a motion by Mr. Sabers.
Second.
Second by Mr. Goldhammer. Any further discussion?
There were no objections by neighbors?
No objections by neighbors. It does meet all the setbacks. It's just over the 2,000 square feet.
And I'll just remind the board with 1 council member, or 1 board member abstaining and 1 absent, that it would need to be unanimous for this 6-0 vote.
Should we do this by roll call then, or?
Not required. If you have anybody that votes against, then you'll want to do a roll call.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing an application of a City of Mitchell variance permit. The City of Mitchell has applied for a variance permit for a minimum lot width of 82.89 feet versus 100 feet and minimum lot area of 1,139 square feet versus 10,000 square feet, located at 115 South Harmon Drive, legally described as shown on the agenda.
Mayor and Council Planning Commission recommended approval of this 7-0. Neighbors are notified, published in the paper, signs posted. There were 3 letters that were against this. They had concerns about some drainage going across this property. Previous administration asked that we plat out a piece of property here to give some more buildable area. This was one of the 8 lots that got undefined as parklands previously, and this one didn't get sold. So we platted out this boundary so that there's a legal description and a boundary for if someone were to take out a petition to get it to a vote to be taken off as parkland, and then council could decide where to go from there. I can answer any questions that you may have for me with this.
Okay, so Mark, if it is not in red, it has already been approved by the public vote
Yes.
that it is available to be sold, okay.
Yep.
So after we discuss 58B, I think we have got to, we have to talk about 58A. So can we talk about that now? Or do you want to, as it's all part of this same area?
Justin, do you want to answer or do you want me to?
Yes. My view on it is it's not really relevant to the variance and the plat that you'd be approving tonight, but it would probably make more sense to talk about it during the plat than it would to talk about
When we
it
talk
now
about the
during
plat of
variance.
this area,
Right.
okay.
And that's
Sure, we
later
can
on
wait
this
till that
agenda.
item.
Yep.
Sure. I saw that it was in 2 places, so,
Mhm.
okay, great. So right now, we're just approving the variance.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, I'll move approval of the variance.
Got a motion by Mrs. Sharks. Second by Mr. Bathke. Any further discussion? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this?
Is it public input on the second part?
There will,
You can talk on this part if you'd like.
Or are you talking the plat itself?
The plat itself?
Yep, it'll be,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
Okay, you'll wait for then? Alrighty, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing and action of the application of the City of Mitchell variance permit. The City of Mitchell has applied for a variance permit for a minimum lot width of 5 feet versus 100 feet and a minimum lot area of 2,661 square feet versus 10,000 square feet, located south of 129 South Harmon, legally described as shown on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 7-0. Letters are sent out to neighbors, signs posted, published in the paper. There is 1 letter returned in favor of this. This again is just establishing boundaries for what a petition could be taken out. The encroachments that are there currently. So we were asked to plat out a piece of land so that, a piece of land, so there could be steps to take care of that in the future. I can answer any questions that you have.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Hurdle, second by Mr. Sabers. Any further discussion on this? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 9/3/24. Dennis Kaus have applied for a variance permit of a front yard setback of 20 feet versus 25 feet to build a 12-foot by 14-foot covered patio located at 408 West 12th Avenue, legally described as Lot 10, Block 26, Capital Edition, City of Mitchell, Davison County, South Dakota. The real estate property is zoned R4, high-density residential district.
We changed the format a little bit this
I was
time.
going to ask about that when I was about halfway through this. Do you want to just do all
Yep,
this at
I'd
once?
do all three. I don't ever recall a time where you guys haven't set the date, so this is kind of speeding up the process that
Okay.
you can
Okay, so
do
here's-
you can do them all under one motion then.
So here's what I'll do. Action to set the date of the Board of Adjustment hearing for everything below as shown on the agenda.
Set the date.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? A lot of firsts for me this year, okay. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Reconvene as City Council. Entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the City Council to reconvene in regular session. We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Goldhammer. Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing and action of the following alcohol license applications. On application of Palace City Brewing LLC doing business as Palace City Brewing Company, 227 West Railroad Avenue, for the new retail on and off sale wine and cider license. Video lottery is not included. Am I doing both these at the same time?
They usually do these separate.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Sabers. Any further discussion?
When are they going to open?
Late, I think,
Not that
I went and
probably
toured it, it
won't be
looks
your
great.
best customer, but you know, you never know.
Come on up.
Or we hear,
Mayor, Council, I'm Doug Beck with Palace City Brewing. Sorry for my attire. I just came from there, working all day. I wish I could give you a date. I would say it's this fall yet, hopefully. So soon, we're getting there. It's just been a long road.
So is the landscaping going to be part of this year, or is that next year, that kind of the outside area?
That'll be this year.
That is this year also?
That'll start here in a couple days.
Yeah, and then you're going to have a first floor and a second floor?
Yep.
And that's,
And an outside space as
and an
well.
outside space. So you anticipate everything to be completed
I believe so.
if you keep working?
That's the plan.
Okay.
What's the history with the white lettering on the face of the railroads? Fruit, that's something,
You know, we don't really know. There's not a lot of information. We've been over to the Carnegie Center looking for some of that. Most of the pictures that we can find are of Lawler and Maine, not really anything down by the railroad. There's one picture that's on our website that you can see from an old viaduct. But that also includes, there's just buildings solid along that
no
north
idea
side of the
when,
tracks.
when that was painted?
No idea.
They had a lot
There's
of
just
that
very
down in
few.
Omaha, and down in downtown Omaha.
In early, during, when COVID started, there was a story on Killaland of people out in Deadwood doing that, resurrecting those old signs and making them look like they used to look, and that's kind of why we pursued that. We wanted to do the same thing, just retain some history. So, anything else? We look forward to opening soon.
So does everyone else, yep.
just for council's awareness, there is a pending TIF application on that project, so you'll be seeing that in the near future as well.
Chief Knipling, does PD have any issues with this?
The police department has no concerns on this application. Recommend approval.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing action of the following alcohol license on application of Palace City Brewing LLC doing business as Palace City Brewing Company, 227 West Railroad Avenue, and the new retail on and off sale malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license. Video lottery is not included. Motion by Mr. Sabers,
Second.
second by Mr. Goldhammer. Anyone else, any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this one? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve special event permit application for River Tree Block Party on Sunday, September 8th, 2024, street closure. River Tree Church is asking for City Council to consider waiving the special event permit street closure fee of $200.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Aaron Heeb. So the River Tree Block Party will be Sunday, September 8th from 1 to 8 p.m. The submitted special event permit application, they're requesting one street closure from 12:30 until 8 p.m. on Sunday, September 8th. Also, River Tree is asking City Council consider waiving the special event permit street closure fee of $200. And staff recommends City Council approval of the special event permit as outlined in the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, in the past, have we waived, or is this the first year we've had that fee?
This is the first time the fee has been there when they've submitted the application.
So, we didn't have to do this, make this decision?
We've
Seems
done
like
it with the street
everybody
closure.
wants us to.
We've done it with the street closure before,
And in all reality, have we charged a nonprofit? Stephanie and I talked a little bit, maybe on the application, if it's a nonprofit, we consider just not even charging. Because we have to waive every one of them anyway. Who we're going to say no to after we said yes to everybody.
And it's a church.
If you feel, bring it back,
I think we need to work on the fee structure and how we are going to charge those going forward, because there sure is a lot of discussion about that. Maybe have some sort of guidelines.
I will move approval of the application with the waiving the $200 fee.
Motion by Mr. Starks.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Goldhammer. So we have a motion and a second for waiving the fee and approving. Any further discussion? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to award bid for airport snow removal project 2024-2022. Mr. Schrader.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council. Bids were opened on July 31st at 1:30 p.m. in City Hall Council Chambers. 3 bids were received from Top Grade Concrete, WBA Properties, and Quality Cut Lawn Services. Top Grade Concrete was the low bid, but they did not meet the requirement of being within 1.5 miles of the airport. For that reason, I'm requesting that you not accept that bid. I am recommending that you approve the second bidder, WBA Properties LLC, for a minimum amount of $86,500 up to a total of $101,000 based on the snow accumulation as identified on the staff report. And with that, I can answer any questions you may have.
How far do they live out, Joe?
Roughly 5.
That's a lot cheaper. Yeah.
Our other option would be to reject all of our bids, rebid the project, and expand out our requirements. I do know the reason for wanting to be that close was in case there were any equipment issues, breakdowns, refueling, those types of things.
How close do they have to be?
1.5 miles.
We ever thought of having the city do it, our own guys?
So we did do that prior to 2019. 2019 was the first time that we implemented this contract. Right now, we currently have 1 person out on the airport to remove snow. We do not utilize any of our other street department drivers for snow removal at the airport. So this helped remove snow from their hangar areas, the taxiways, and then our airport manager took care of the runways.
Where's that equipment at that we had?
Our equipment?
Yeah.
We have it out in the east building right off Highway 37 is where our equipment is.
So if we're to rebid this, how much would that slow things down?
We'd be looking at roughly 2 more months probably from start to finish.
Before we can vote on it? They can vote on it?
Yeah, at least a month and a half. Yep. 2 months to get it awarded.
When will the snow start flying?
After that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Confident.
like the magic of 1.5 miles, that's pretty it seems like that's pretty restrictive. That's
Yep.
1.5 miles from any city limits, right?
From the airport.
Oh, from the airport, okay. So, I mean, still is pretty limiting, especially if you're only 1.5 miles from the airport. Like it could be on the other side of Mitchell and not be 1.5 miles, is that fair?
Right.
From the airport, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I was thinking that you were going to say that the reason was because if they couldn't get to the airport because I suppose they'd have the equipment to move the snow. So I was trying to figure out what the magic of that was.
I mean, per the contract, they have to be at the airport. If they don't, the contract would be
They have to
null.
be at the airport.
When we request them to be there to remove snow.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess I'm just struggling with the 1.5 miles. I don't know.
It was what we came with back in 2019 with our previous airport manager. He's since left us. Our last crew that we had, it worked out really well. They met those requirements. And I felt like it was a really good working relationship with them. It worked out well.
So because that worked out well, we kept the same parameters.
There's no issues, you're saying, with the previous operators?
Oh.
I'll move that we reject them.
You want to reject?
Yeah.
All bids?
All bids.
Okay.
And we change the parameters, move out a little bit further. I don't know what that is. 5 miles? As long as they can get there.
Yeah, the question is, I mean, I guess my question to you, Joe, is there a significant difference between a place that's located 5 miles from the airport and one that's 1.5 miles? I mean, they still have to.
So the issue in my mind is, let's say you have one piece of equipment, one large piece of equipment that you have that's working on the airport. That piece of equipment breaks down. You are now stranded at the airport. If it's blizzarding, you have no way to get back to your shop. If you call one of your workers to come get you, I don't know if they have the equipment to come get that person. Say the airport is supposed to be open, we get a fixed wing call from the hospital. All of a sudden, we have to tell that fixed wing that you cannot come into the airport. Not to say that that's going to happen, but that is our concern.
Here's the thing, Joe. The reason you are in the position you're in is because you know these things. So I'm going to be, I agree that we maybe should let these be rebid. I mean, I don't know that 2 miles is going to make a difference, 5 miles. If he's not comfortable with it, then I'm not sure about that. I don't know. If I always feel like we should let the guys that we have in the positions they're in do their jobs. So if that's what you want it to be, then I'm going to be supportive of that. So I think maybe we should keep them, maybe we should support the WBA properties.
I will second the bid, or second the motion to reject. And then let's come up with what you think is fair. I'm comfortable with 5 miles, but.
Who comes up with those
again,
parameters? Is that a Joe thing, or do we do that? Probably not here, right?
We don't do it tonight, that's for sure.
Okay, perfect. Oh, we have a motion and a second to reject it and then come up with something else. Any further discussion?
Procedure?
Yeah, the council's always got the ability to reject all the.
No, I meant how we're voting. Are we supposed to vote to approve and then reject it?
Oh, no, that's fine. I think everybody's clear that you'd be rejecting all the bids and rebidding.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to reject all bids and then come up with a different plan and then rebid it. So, any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Come to the podium and state your name.
Reggie Siegel with Quality Cut Lawn and Tree Service. I've done this for 5 years for the airport. So the thing of the 1.5 miles, it can be 2, it can be 5. The thing of it is when it's 40 below, they got to have a heated shop. If that equipment doesn't start and a VAR calls in, there's somebody coming in a plane, you have to be there. Not only were the stipulations not having a box blade with hydraulic wings is, I plow snow for a living, but being there for 5 years, understanding it with Mike teaching me and everything else, is with a wing plow, you can go around the circle, the pad, and at least get it where a plane can get in, serviced, ambulance, and get serviced. So snow could be in the center, but you have to have a big enough machine to work that whole thing, that whole 10-acre pad to the center. So at least the plane can get in and get out, So there's one thing. But I will tell you this, 2 years ago we had the bad one, 62 inches. It took 4 of my wheel loaders with articulated wings to get it done. So it's not just, it says, it don't even say anything on the bid, what piece of equipment, it just says a wing plow. But I will tell you, if it's a bad year, 4 wheel loaders just to help to get that done. When it's blowing 30, 40 mile an hour wind, that's a whole different deal out there than it is in town. It's a whole different animal. So even one piece of equipment is not enough. When I got involved in it, it was 1, but luckily I have 3 other ones. It was, hey, we need help. All 4 of us are there plowing. So it's not just that, it's you need the equipment. That's a big thing, more than just one, deal. And there's nothing even on there, a wheel loader or this, it's just, recommendation is 1.5 miles. Close yard to your facility to work on a blade. If it breaks or this, you can go back to your shop fix it, weld it, whatever you gotta do. Having a fuel tank, they won't let, I mean, unless those guys let you put a fuel tank there, you know, to fuel up. I mean, there's a lot of
So
lot of
Reggie,
different
you've been doing
stuff.
this for 5 years.
Yes.
So would you what would you change about the application or about the bid?
I think the biggest thing is equipment. It's just not one
You
piece
just
of
don't
equipment.
think it's telling us exactly what is
No.
required out there on
No.
a bad year?
And if you see my bid, what I bid it for $65,000. To lease a wheel loader right now, you're looking at between $6,000 and $7,000 for one wheel loader, right?
We have that you bid 105.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
not 65. Huh? Yeah, what's 65?
I did, 2019, I bid it for 65.
That was his previous bid.
Previous bid. So 19, that was with Trump. Everything's went up 35, 40%, even equipment. You know, one of my cat wheel loaders, 145,000, now 210,000. So there's a big jump from 19 to now, 5 years later, you know. So it's not, you need the equipment. It's more than just one piece of equipment. If you got that, it's not gonna work. I can tell you that right now, 5 years of doing it. I mean, it takes a lot of equipment. And when I did this, I wasn't really counting on using my other 3 wheel loaders because I make my money in town. So to get away from, hey, we need, you know, we need you right now. Everybody come to the airport, poof, 3-4 hours what we got, and then back in the city, you know. So there's a lot to do than just one piece of equipment, and having the right plow, and you know, there's a lot into it, you know. So
Joe, do you feel like we should include some of those other things as part of that bid application? That, like, equipment availability, I mean.
and qualifications too, you know what I mean? Either you do it for a living or not. Sometimes there's jets on there that are worth $50, $80 million. When it's blowing 30, 40 mile an hour, if you're not smart enough to say stop and get out of there and come back until it's done snowing, and if somebody hits one of those planes, we only need $2 million. So if somebody hits that plane, guess who they're going after? You think you're going after, they're coming after you guys. You know what I mean? So qualifications are huge. Having the equipment is huge. So, I mean, that's where it comes down to. So trying to hire somebody, one person with a plow, it don't work. Last year, yeah, it would have worked. We had no snow. But that's why you take a 5-year average. You got good, I win one, you guys win one, you know, it's back and forth, comes out. But to rent a wheel loader right now, or rent the big one, you're at $6,000, $7,000 a month. That's not including about a $40,000, $45,000 plow. And then to pay somebody a good wage, which is $45 an hour, you know what I mean? Or somebody that knows what they're doing. So, and have extra equipment, not a skid loader, you know, not a truck, I mean, not a backhoe, wheel loaders, you know, big wheel loaders, so.
I have a silly
I
question.
guess.
Do people park their planes outside when it's snowing, or do they leave them in the hangars?
If they fly in, they'll park them out there.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And there's a lot to do with that too. With the lights out there, you can't stack, you know what I mean? You can't wing roll towards the lights, because then you lose visibility with the planes coming in when they land. If they can't see, if you're just wing that whole thing, you know, like I said, and not take it to the areas and not stack, you're not allowed to stack out there. Because when you got stacks piles high, when the plane lands, one thing, you can wreck your wing. 2, they can't see the lights, they don't know where they're going. So there's a lot. It's not just go hire somebody to go plow it. There's more to it than that.
What do you do besides, if you're not stacking it, what do you do?
You just push it. You push it, you leave it there. So we'll push half of that pad to the north and just leave it. We'll go
Like
into,
you just push it?
we'll go,
the next place?
yeah, we'll push it right in the grass between the lights, so it's no visibility, you know what I mean, into the grass, way in there, and just stack it. Not stack it, just push it. Meaning just push and drop. You're not stacking high, you're just pushing. And then everything goes to the south. We have, you know, certain places we can stack there by the air, you know, by the wings, and then we take everything to the south. So it takes a lot to go. I mean, it's a huge to go back and forth, and you can't just plow. So this is the pad, 10 acres here. You can't just plow here to here. It takes you so much time, the power. Even if I got a 938, it's a 190 horse machine. You got to take it in quarters. You got to plow here, plow here, plow here. Got to come here. The best thing is to wing the whole thing, so the planes can get in. So if there is a call, they can get in. They can fuel up. Ambulance can get in there, And then you got that pile, start taking it this way and taking the half that way. So there's more to it, just go hire somebody to plow. I mean, it's no different than me bidding on a contract to do concrete for the city. I've never touched it in my life, but if I got the tools and I've got the bond and I'm the cheapest, doesn't mean I'm the qualified. You know what I mean? So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
1 second, Reggie.
Yeah.
In 5 years of doing it, how many times have you had to go out there for a plane to land for a Vera, approximately?
None. Any other questions?
My only concern by changing the guidelines to, nothing personal, but to exactly how you want, I would guess that you will probably win that bid every time. So I would that's one thing I would be a little afraid of. I'm not saying we don't have to look at qualifications or anything else like that.
Right.
I'm just saying if the qualifications are exactly what you have, it'd be pretty easy.
Right.
That's just for fairness for everyone.
Joe, what do you think about, and you don't have to answer this if you want to think about it a little bit, but the equipment, I mean, that does make some sense, that you have to have availability of equipment.
Correct.
So you think you could maybe think about that or incorporate that?
Like Susan asked the question, what do we do to adjust the bid? We've thrown around, having it clean within so many hours, but it's a variable of how much snow we get. And then there's also different types of snow events. There's wind, there's snow that comes in. I know the first part of the years of the contract, when Reggie and I talked about blowing snow, we didn't necessarily see eye to eye with removing blowing snow, but we got through that. And we both understood how the contract read. So there's just so many different, Reggie's right, there are a lot of different things with this, and there's different snows, and there's just different situations to be able to cover everything in the contract. And it gets difficult. When we did this in 2019, if you remember, we rebid this 3 times to try and get what we needed for a successful bid. Yep.
And Mike, to your question, maybe not at all during the last 5 years, but it only takes once, right? Yeah, it's a good question. But, yeah, it only takes once.
Can't imagine if it's a blizzard, they're going to be flying anyway. I mean.
You're right. It's typically when the snow is done, they immediately want to leave. You get the phone call and it's like, when are you opening? Or when can I get a plane on? So you're right. It's when there's a snowstorm, they're not flying. And to be honest, the hospitals aren't either. But as soon as it stops, their expectation is to be able to land. Yep. Or take off.
Well, that's not really true either, though, but they called me in to go plow Dick Moose so he can get in his jet and blow, and it was 40-mile-an-hour winds. Probably shouldn't have went, but guess what? They call you in and say, hey, we got a customer that's leaving, and you got to be here. It's got to be plowed. With snow, there's obviously no salt for planes. There's also, you learn a lot too, which the wheels are small on a plane, so they go through snow. Their brakes can freeze up while they're up there. So that's why it's very crucial. I mean, I learned all this stuff. I mean, I'm not going to lie. But that they don't get any snow on the brakes. So that airport's got, you can't have little piles here where they go over. It can get packed in there, you know what I mean? There's a lot of variables. That's got to be done right, and, yeah.
Couldn't we have something in there where we could allow you or whoever's doing the snow removal to say, hey, we're not going to do it just because it's a private jet and they want to go to Mexico or whatever, whoever it is. I'm not picking on Mr. Muth. I'm just saying, wouldn't that make some common sense to say, hey, it doesn't make sense for us to pay Reggie to go out there or whoever to move that snow so a private guy can go on vacation. It's different if we have an emergency.
I think the bid price is the same no matter what, right?
Correct.
Ultimately, it's going to be the airport manager's call. Right. So that's going to be the same under however you want to bid this out.
And our previous airport manager had our airport open as soon as possible. He was very good at his job.
Yeah.
And he took a lot of pride in what he did.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that's your job. I mean, well, you do it 0 to 45. That's, if it's a half inch, they call me, Mike say, hey, I'm out there. Boom. So it is when you do it, you do it,
Okay, so I have a question. Since if he motioned to say no and we got a second, if the vote fails, does this motion pass?
No, you'd need an alternative motion then.
Okay. Okay.
Joe, I do have a question. With this particular bid, was it based on physical shop address, or was it based on the mailing address listed?
So if they could show that they have a spot rented within that 1.5 miles, that would be acceptable.
Okay.
It just needs to be a place to store the equipment.
The only reason I ask is because I noticed that WBA Properties was a PO box, and so I didn't know if they have a physical address in Mitchell, or if that was verified.
WBA's location is on the airport. They currently have a hangar that they plan on using as their facility.
Okay. We have a motion to reject the bids and go out for rebids based on Joe's choosing of the parameters. Does that sound correct?
Technically, I think the motion is to reject the bids, and then we'd have to bring a different bid back to council.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe would have to put the standards together for that new bid package, and then that would go through the whole notice and award process.
Okay, well, any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
So the motion to reject carries. Now what happens? Okay. Action to approve agreement A 2024-36 tax increment district number 37 developer agreement.
All right, so we've seen a number of these developer agreements in the recent past. I won't go into the details. Again, they're just to lay out some additional terms as to how the tax increment revenue is passed on to the developer. Number 37 would relate to the interstate glass TIF that was just approved.
There's a typo on this, and it keeps reappearing, and I just feel like someone needs to correct the spelling for the JT. It should be JT Carpenter Properties instead of Carpentier. You guys French?
There's another one, if you pull up number 5. Page 5, I should say.
Oh,
Sorry. Just kind of pertains to responsibility, I guess.
Are you talking on the developer agreement?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, not the agenda.
Yes. It's budget season.
Pretty sure Travis doesn't want to be the sole guy signing there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm happy to report that Don provided this document.
I didn't want to beat him up.
Yeah. I will make sure that Don corrects those typos before we get signatures.
Lost power. Oh, we're back. Okay, I entertain a motion.
Move to approve. That's what I thought we were at. I'm second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second with the changes of the name and the name, both spellings. Don.
Change it, Don.
Okay, any further discussion? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak to this? Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve Resolution R 2024-52 plot of lots 1A and 2A of Block 2 of Bayside Overlook Subdivision. Mr. Jenigus.
Is there a lamp light
Nope.
on up there?
We are looking at new equipment for this room, so. And also a different room.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Council, Plan Commission recommended approval of this 7-0. Lots 1A and 2A, they do meet the required size because the people to the south are the ones that are going to end up owning it, and that's RL, and this is TWC. So they want to rezone that and then replat everything back out into bigger lots. There's an alley in there that they'd like to vacate, and they'd actually be vacating these two lots that are, or these two plats that they just created. So that way it's two big pieces of property. I can answer any questions that you have for me.
Okay, I have a million questions. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So tell me what this is owned by the Sportsman Club. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep.
Can you bring
Okay.
it up, Stephanie?
And then are we just cleaning up these
bring it-
lots right here?
Oh,
These
okay,
are-
okay.
We're just, or is this something that is just something,
They are platting out this pieces of property.
these two little narrow
Yes.
things?
Yep, because they intend to sell them to the landowner to the south.
And so who did they belong to? That was just like a weird piece of property that jutted down into
No,
these
they
other.
created those boundaries. It was with the parent parcel that goes all the way up to the rodeo ground itself.
Oh.
It's hard for me to, is it on the TV there?
Okay. Sorry, I had to change my display settings, sorry.
Can you go to the GIS view?
For everyone at home, we're having technical difficulties with the
I
projector.
think our projector just died.
We think a projector just died.
So those two pieces of property that they're platting out right there.
Yes.
Was part of where the rodeo stands were and everything like that. They created these two new boundaries that are in red out of the parent parcel. And then they intend to sell those to the people to the south.
Where the homes are pre-existing?
Correct, yeah.
Actually sheds in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when they do that, because the sheds are RL, this land that is platted, that proposing is TWC, they have to become the same zone to become one parcel.
Got it.
And so then after they get rezoned, then they're going to replat and take away this plat that you're just approving right now. It's going to become vacated, and the shed, the alley that sits between them that they'd like to request to vacate as well, and then this parcel here. So it'll be two big lots with no boundaries in the middle of them. I do have a future plan in there. I believe it's the last document on that.
Is it this one? Sorry, Mark.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what.
Yeah, I'm looking at that.
Going to be is to have the lots that size then when they're done.
That these owners of the sheds this will be their new boundaries.
Correct, yes.
So we are vacating,
Not at this time. At this time, it's just the plat itself, 1A and 1B, or excuse me, 1A and 2A that we are requesting to have platted and approved by council.
I'll move to approve it.
Second.
Does that mean I gotta take over?
Yeah, you can do it.
All right, we got a motion by me, second by Jeff. Mike, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Against, nay. Motion passed. Not sure where he went. We just passed it without you.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you on the next one then?
Yep.
Okay. Action to approve resolution R 2024-53, plot of lot 58B of Indian Head Subdivision Lake Mitchell Development Plan.
Mr. Mayor, Council Plan Commission recommended approval of this 7-0. This goes with the variance that you approved during Board of Adjustment. This is just establishing the boundary and legal description of this piece of property. I can answer any questions that you have for me, or people probably here in the audience that would like to discuss this as well. This is where you're talking about your 58A.
Okay. Entertain a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Goldhammer. Second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? Yeah.
Hello, Megan Luther. My husband and I reside in the property next door to 58. About a year ago, when the city was preparing lots to be sold for the election, the 8 lots, 58 was part of that, and we all come to the realization that we have an issue. So looking at the lines, it looks like there is an encroachment that we all inherited. This was new to us. Sounds like this was new to the city as well. And so doing some digging at court records and talking to the city, it sounds like 58A, that little strip of land you can see, was created to resolve that back in 2000. We bought the property in 2011, so this is all new to us. We didn't add to the property, it was actually added by previous owners, and no encroachment was mentioned, and this is new to everyone. So I worry about the encroachment, and my concern is not with 58B or 58, it's the encroachment, and if you go to sell the land, then there's going to be an issue with that encroachment. So I think the easiest solution is to move forward as they wanted to in 2000, and for some reason, none of us know why that wasn't moved forward in 2000 to sell that little strip or vacate that little strip, 58A.
Yeah, I feel like so much of what we do in these meetings so often is we're trying to clean up lots. I mean, and what we just did, the Sportsman Club is a perfect example. This lot 58A was approved in the public vote to be sold, so that it's clear in terms of it's not parkland, so it's not something that we have to worry about that. So, I remember when Dave and Margie Kundal built the house out there, this was never brought up to their attention, and then Ron and I think Melissa Anderson lived in the house next, and they certainly weren't aware of this. In fact, didn't you tell me that they built that little barge at the end there because there was never any thought that that was not part of their land, that was never included in, there was never a question. So in my opinion, and Jeff and I have had some conversations about it, and I feel like since that land, since the early 90s at least, has been assumed for all these years to be a part of that lot 57, that whether we vacate it or whether we sell it, it's 6 feet. It's like literally 6 feet. So it's not a big enough area that we'd ever be able to, that someone would be able to take that and make a real difference. The Luthers have been the ones who have maintained that. They've taken care of it. And prior to that, it was, the Andersons and the Kundals. So I feel like that the correct thing to do would be to just vacate that like we do so often. And if not that, then make that parcel, that small parcel, available for that property 57 that has been operating for the last many years under the assumption that that was part of their property, and allow them to purchase that for a small fee. That would be a recommendation that I would like to make.
So just to clarify, we're not really talking about that, though, tonight. I'm not trying to discount anything, but we're,
right.
Okay.
But it is part, we thought maybe this was a good time, turn it off. Thought that this might be a good time to just at least bring it up since we're talking about cleaning up those property lines.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any issue with talking about it, because eventually you'll have to decide what you want to do with all these lots.
Okay.
I will say 58A, as you mentioned, it appears like it was initially platted to help take care of those encroachments. 58A, if there is an encroachment on the driveway, would probably take care of that. The landscaping down towards the beach, that is going to extend across 58A into 58 itself. So you might solve some of the issue by selling 58A by itself, but it won't be solving the whole problem.
No, and obviously we have bigger problems with this whole scenario than just 58A, but it would be nice to at least clarify for the current residents that this parcel that they inherited when they bought the place, they thought this was theirs, and they've been operating under that assumption for as long as they've lived there, and the people before that the same, and the people before that the same, and now suddenly we're saying, oh, by the way, that's not yours.
So
And-
Justin and the mayor, would you two be comfortable if we put this on the next agenda?
I would say just put it on the agenda, and then we can decide at that time.
Then we can publicly
Specifically
talk about
for-
it and come to a resolution and decision.
Are you talking
58A.
specifically for 58A?
Just 58A.
Yep, yep.
So just to recap, we'll approve if we want to plot this one. And then at the next one, we'll figure out how we want to either conjoin those into one deal or two deals or whatever.
Yeah.
That seems to make sense to me.
Yeah, and just to clarify the process there for 58A, it's privately held city property. You won't vacate it, you'd sell it. So we would go through the surplus process to do that, so that's likely what we would be bringing back at the next meeting. And then when you do that surplus, you need to decide how you're disposing of it. You can do the sealed bids, you can do public auction, you can list it with a broker. So that's what you'd need to be thinking about for that next meeting on which of those alternatives you want to take.
So that's
Justin-
not parkland?
No, 58A was part of the election.
Okay.
So Justin, just out of curiosity, what are the criteria for something to be vacated?
It would need to be right away. This is not right away, this is privately held city property.
That's why we can vacate an alley or vacate a road or something like that, but we can't vacate a 6-foot
Right.
parcel of.
Yep.
And would it be safe to say that it could be part of 58 if we elect to do that, or we could elect to say it could be part of 57? And we know with 58, it still has to go through a bidding process. But if we've got, like, if we say that it's going to belong to 57, can we take given us a sliver, can we take the average of all the lots and offer it to them per square foot?
No, it has to be a public process. You can't sell it to them directly. But, you know.
Yep, any surplus
You
stuff has
also-
to go through one of those three things, right?
Right.
Legally, yep.
Depending on the method that you're doing, you may have some oversight into who ultimately it's sold to. It's just a matter of which process you want to go through.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or anyone in the audience? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve Resolution R 2024-54, plot of Lot 68A of Indian Head Subdivision Lake Mitchell Development Plan. Mr. Jenigas.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 7-0. Again, this was just approved for a variance during Board of Adjustment. This would follow the same procedure. It's just setting boundaries and a legal description for this piece of property. As you're aware, there is an encroachment on this piece of property that could get taken care of by having the legal description for this. It would have to be petitioned with about 500 signatures, then get put to a vote of the people, and then council would decide what they want to do from that point. But this is just creating a legal description with boundaries for that location. I can answer any questions.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Mr. McCardle,
Second.
second by Mr. Goldhammer. Any further discussion? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve Resolution R 2024-55, plot of Lot 108-A of Indian Head Subdivision Lake Mitchell Development Plan.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 7-0. On GIS, it's always kind of shown that there's a parcel there that actually doesn't exist. So it was requested to create a parcel at this location and make it big enough that it didn't need any variances. That's the one difference between this and the other two that you've previously seen. Again, it's just creating boundaries and a legal description for this, and the process would be the same moving forward if it was so chosen to move that direction. I can answer any questions that you have.
This one's parkland, right, too?
Yep.
Okay, yep.
Yep.
Motion by Mrs. Sharks,
Second.
second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion?
So, once if they go out and get the close to 500 names or whatever it is, what's the city's obligation? Do we have to have a vote within a certain time period?
We've got flexibility on when that would get scheduled.
Okay.
So you aren't locked into having to call a special election for it. If you want to wait until the next general or, city, county, school district election or primary,
Yeah.
you could set it for the next one that's scheduled to.
Yeah. And it's worth noting, and obviously I'm the one that started this whole little ordeal, but there's no bike path on any of the three. So I think that's very important, and they're kind of one-offs. And in reality, the public thought that they were voting for that eighth one, and then the other two. To me, it makes some sense to actually rid ourselves of these pieces of property. And I don't know what everybody else thinks or not, but Jordan, I'd be interested in your comments.
Yeah, I would agree with you. After more discussion and talk about it, I think, if they want to get out and get a petition and sell it, and then, or get out a petition and take it and let us go to a vote and let the people decide,
There's no election next year, though, is there?
We don't have a city one. I don't know what the county or school district is scheduled for.
So are we tied if we do this audit? I know I've talked to a couple of you guys. I don't want to mess up squaring up the other two lots by adding this third lot to it.
They can be taken on petition individually or 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. They don't all have to be on the same petition.
Okay.
And from my side of zoning things, platting things is a good thing. Doesn't mean you have to sell it or anything. I'd love to plat the whole lake out so that we know where boundaries are, because that's what this does. It sets pins in the ground and boundaries for where your land is.
So this third lot that we're discussing now, it has been pinned already by a professional surveyor?
Yeah, it would be pinned.
And there's no encroachments from the house to the...
There were encroachments in the past that got taken care of.
That's what I was wondering.
I mean, I agree. If we had clear boundaries set way back when, there are so many problems we would avoid. And it just seems like everything is so hard when you have things not platted officially. So I mean, I can understand your position.
I think we need to, this is going to maybe a little out of bounds. Moving forward, I don't know how you do it. Justin, maybe you'll fill in here. If somebody comes in for a building permit, and I don't know, maybe they're doing this, you better have a survey certificate so we don't get into this again.
It does depend sometimes onto what it is they're coming in for. There are some things that we permit for, there's some things that we don't. So swimming pools, for example, we don't permit those, so we wouldn't know one way or the other. Fences, we don't permit for.
A shed under 200 square feet?
A major structure, though, or an addition, something like that. Those are things that we do permit for. And I think Joe and probably John would be the best people to speak to those. But
Well, and I don't know if any of you guys have gotten a call about a month ago, but a friend of mine called and said, my dad took out his deck and we're going to put it back in, and the neighbor says, you're on my land. And I'm going, oh, no. But he's put it exactly in the same position where it was before. So we've got some issues out at the lake. And I don't know how in the world we go about even starting to correct that. And I'm almost afraid to call him back to see if it was resolved or not, but I didn't have any answers for him.
It was built today. I don't know if he shortened it up or not. I don't know. I was out there. But it goes back to what I just said. If they would have surveyed from the get-go, they would know, because the property next to it has the same issue.
On the other side.
Yeah, me. So if you survey, a professional does it, then you know. And that can be addressed. He reached out to me and I told him that was a dispute between two homeowners, and I think Justin may have passed that along to him also.
Okay.
And he thought the city should get involved, and I said, we're not going to get involved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, or does anyone in the audience like to speak to this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve resolution R 2024-56, plot of lots A, B, and C of Depot Second Edition. Mr. Jeniges.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 5-0 with 2 abstentions. This is zone TWC. It meets those zoning requirements for that. This is helping to set some boundaries for the TIF that Palace City Brewing will be bringing in front of you shortly. They had applied for a TIF previously, and with the boundaries that they had set, it was crossing parcels and only taking out pieces of each one of them, and so you couldn't get your taxing correct for that, or your appraised value with that as well. So they have been working with the railroad to get boundaries set, and they're going to do a land swap with some of this and whatever else. I don't know. That's none of my business, but the Palace City Brewing will, Palace Brewing LLC will have B and C, and the railroad will get Lot A with this. I can answer any questions that you have.
I'll also add that getting this squared was one of the main reasons why the application on the TIF has been so delayed.
Yep.
I don't know how many of you have had the pleasure of dealing with the railroad, but that takes time.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Sabers. Second by Mr. McCardle. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Second reading on ordinance 2024-06, method of electing officers for city council. Justin.
All right, nothing new as from last meeting. Same thing from them, just some basic procedures on how we go through electing officers. Generally set around using that tie break coin flip as the procedure. And again, these would still allow council to make deviations if they want, and then this would also serve as a guideline for other city boards and committees. So with that, I can open it up for discussion.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
I'll second on behalf of Marty.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on adopting the coin flip ordinance. Okay, any further discussion?
Years from now, someone's going to say, now let me get this straight.
Oh, yes, that's the place on second.
Just a point of order, the motion should be placing on second reading and then move to adopt after the second reading motion passes.
Okay, we have a motion on the second reading and a second. Okay, anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Reading carries.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Roll call.
Bathke.
Yes.
Sharps.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Goldammer.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Motion to enter into executive session according to SDCL 1-25-2 for negotiations and legal.
So moved.
We got a motion by Mr. Goldhammer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cardle. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. There will be no action after executive session.
John shakes his nipple.
Kevin, you want to adjourn us?